What's up? Welcome to this own presentation. In this video, we're going to talk about hip-hop. This is going to be the first of 3 installations based on the concept of hip-hop. Be on the lookout for the next 2 chapters that will come in the future. Today's presentation is going to focus on hip-hop, its origins, the 5 elements of hip-hop, and how they connect to the occult science called alchemy. Today we'll be covering hip-hop's history from funk to soul to rapping to b-boying, how this connects to alchemy and elements, and how hip-hop became a cultural phenomenon. We're going to break down each element in hip-hop individually. We're going to also talk about the spread of hip-hop from the East Coast to the West Coast, even globally. I really want to talk about alchemy as well because most people who are probably watching this video may not be specifically clear what alchemy is. Alchemy, as it's known today in the West, is usually associated with making lead into gold. And you can look at that as symbolism because changing lead into gold could also mean, activating your root chakra to the crown chakra, like how they have in the Eastern systems. It could also mean taking something that's not valuable and making it something that's valuable or something that's unique, manifesting something that didn't exist before. Example, alchemy is really broke down in 3 elements, 3 parts: sulfur, mercury, and salt. You usually need those 3 to perform the art called alchemy. Mercury is known as a planet in astrology, of course, but it could also be known as a medium. And when they say it's a medium, it's really a messenger, usually a messenger between the gods to mankind. Chi and sound are forms of Mercury. So, because Chi and sound are a form of Mercury, hip-hop is a music that uses sound as a medium. So, sound has been around for a long time, and historically it has also been able to know how to heal, how to change your emotions. Even something called the Mozart effect, where some people say it has the ability to increase your IQ. The Houthi, or Hermes, or Thoth, he has many names. He tends to be connected with Egypt. He's known as, sometimes he can be known as Mercury. He's a messenger of the gods, creative alchemy, creative music, creative language, creative mathematics. So in Thoth, you see the connection between music and alchemy because he's known to be the creator of both. Now, some people could have Thoth as a person, or some people could have it as a group of people who took on the name, or to some it could be an order. But either way, he was known as the creator of alchemy, music, language, even known as the god of communication. So when you look at it from that perspective, then you look at hip-hop. Hip-hop combines 3 different things, right? It has its alchemy, its music, and its culture. So from that perspective, hip-hop has a lot of traits of alchemy. And what we're going to do now is talk about the elements individually. We're going to start to talk about the MC, but first we're going to talk about Kool Herc, because you really can't talk about MCs without talking about Kool Herc, even though he's properly known as a DJ. Kool Herc's name is Clive Campbell. He came from Jamaica to the States in the 60s. He moved to the South Bronx, and eventually, even when he was in Jamaica, he came from the culture of the DJ being the person who organized the parties. And he kind of brought that style to America, where he started organizing parties for youth. And at the parties, he would control the crowd with his microphone. And he would play all kinds of music, from reggae to funk to soul, while speaking over the beats. And when he spoke with a charisma that would get people's attention. This is the development of the master of ceremony, as today is popularly known as the MC. Today's rap artists are MCs, but they're using one element. And this happened because people started to focus on the person with the most charisma, the lyrics, and swag, but the other 4 elements sort of got pushed to the background. Battle raps even developed from this concept, and the battle rap was developed by the person who had the most charisma, had the most lyrics, and was able to freestyle usually over an audience. And some would argue that battle rap is actually hip-hop in its purest foundation. The second element is the DJ. Hip hop has roots in soul, funk, and jazz going back to the 50s. Kool Herc would play these records for the youth, which was funk and soul beats. MCs with DJ plays. The first element created what we know as the DJ today. Crowds from different cities arrived and they would battle. And eventually it became a social event and it became very popular. And for the most part, when it became very popular, the DJ became sort of like the organizer of the show. And in some sense, it's sort of like how the MC is known today. The DJ was kind of the person who set the tone for the party. And this leads us to the third element, breakdancing. Time, hip hop was not invented, so a lot of times they used to play soul, funk, with breaks and beats between looping instruments, repeating, and this manifested into what we know as scratching. The crowd started to dance to the beat and would jerk to the loops and scratch, and the second element of breaking was created. Soon, there were battles between different rap crews, sometimes crews of friends, sometimes people from different neighborhoods. This is where battle breaking came from. This created a fun event for the youth to battle dance. B-boys was the term used that Kool Herc used, and he called these dancers. He also called them break boys. Today, break dancers use funk, soul, to mimic what they did in the 70s and 80s. So that's why sometimes, even now, when you see B-boys, they will still dance to music from that era. And the fourth element is graffiti. Graffiti, for the most part, started in Philadelphia. As we know, graffiti as we know of today started in Philadelphia. It was usually used by two different groups, either political or social activists, or gang members. The social activists usually used it to make a political statement. Gang members usually used it to mark their territory. So even though it started in Philadelphia, it eventually moved or got bigger in New York. So some graffiti artists would leave signatures. So they became street artists by association. So when you see a graffiti person, they will leave a signature, a mark, to let you know that they actually tagged that graffiti. And one of the first pioneers in street art and graffiti in general, he's really more for social graffiti, was Cornbread. Now, marking trains became a big thing because the trains cross states. So when you mark the train, people in other states could see your work. So marking trains became a big thing in early graffiti. These four elements are known as hip-hop. The fifth element is a little bit harder to understand. That's because the fifth element is knowledge. These are the four elements that you know of. MC, the DJ, graffiti, B-boys, and breakdancing. So those are the four that you know of. Those are the four visible elements. The fifth element is knowledge. Because it's knowledge, it's a little bit more intangible. So it's usually the element that gets pushed in the background. So the MC was supposed to be the one who brings the knowledge. Chuck D, a Public Enemy, used to call hip-hop Black Man CNN, particularly for this reason. And Public Enemy was really known for their conscious and social rap. So obviously they followed this protocol. This connects back to Dorf and Mercury, who was the god of communication, creative alchemy, creative music. This is where hip-hop can tie into its alchemical roots, going back to Egypt. In hip-hop, they'll bring knowledge to the inner cities through art and culture. The fifth element, or knowledge, is the missing element today. The hip-hop pentagram is a good example, a good symbol to fuse the five elements with. The pentagram is an occult symbol. is usually a symbol that is known to be the highest symbol in magic. And in hip hop, the pentagram goes along with the 5 elements because it's the base of what hip hop is. Anytime you get hip hop that the elements start to break, or you start to know one, or one starts to dominate the other, it starts to become a fragmented form of hip hop, which is why people use rap, and rap is just a part of hip hop, but hip hop is much bigger. The understanding of the elements as we know today really centered around a man named Africa Bambaataa. He had his own b-boy crew, who eventually became known as Zulu Nation. Their crew was really a fusion of dancers, truth seekers, who fused Afrocentric ideals with the culture that we know of as hip-hop today. He created the ideal for the hip-hop elements. He even coined the word hip-hop as we know it. Bambaataa was really focused on the element of knowledge, though, because he saw that the element of knowledge will be the one that might be forgotten. But the Zulu Nation eventually spread worldwide, and they really were focused on the preservation of hip-hop as we know it. Africa Bambaataa was from the South Bronx. He was a former leader of the gang called the Black Spades. He eventually started to help the youth, or started to help teach the youth to use their creative talents. And in a sense, when they use their creative talents, they can do other things besides maybe get in trouble in the streets. So African Bambaataa, in some ways, is just as important as DJ Kool Herc, because when we know of the elements of hip hop today, he's really the person who really pushed that ideal and that concept. And then from this, hip hop spread from the East Coast to the West Coast, and then eventually spread worldwide, spread globally.